Senior Washington correspondent Jeff Zeleny. Jess, what does it mean, in your view, that you have three, we'll call them, they're big names in the Democratic primary. Sure. If you want to call them front runners or not, you know, we can all debate it. All white men, all starting off their campaigns or even before they get in the campaign with apologies, and all on issues related to how they treat or talk about women.
I think it means that we should have a conversation that lasts 2 or 3 weeks where Kamala Harris and Elizabeth Warren and Amy Klobuchar take the lead and we talk about issues and policy points that Democrats actually want to be making right now so we don't have to deal with this. But since we do, I think what's happening right now is really interesting because those three men, they're not accused of sexual harassment or sexual assault. This is not a Harvey Weinstein situation.
No.
What's happening is we're having really interesting conversations that are very long overdue. With Beto, we're talking about a double standard. There's nothing inherently wrong with what he said, except the fact that if a woman said it, she would not be taken seriously as a front runner. She would be reviled as something kind of unnatural. A woman saying she didn't really take care of her kids is not going to, it's not going to be a laugh line coming from her. And we need to talk about that. What's happening with Biden is not sex assault, but treating women in a professional setting like they're your niece or your granddaughter can be pretty demeaning, and that's something that we should have the conversation about. So I'm glad that our side is willing to have these tough conversations. I want to make sure that we stay very focused on the fact that the other side has actually elected somebody who is an admitted sexual assaulter. So we're not comparing apples to apples here. One side is willing to have really tough gender-based conversations, and the other side is pretty happy to double down on misogyny.
And I've got that's Jess's position. I've got a million questions about this, and we'll continue it much further than this. But is this a generational example of a generational divide? Does this change? Does this conversation change dramatically when it's not Democratic primary and we're talking about a general election, as Jess points out, against Donald Trump? What do you think of this, Jeff?
Well, I think it is a generational divide in some respect, but I also think what is going on here, Joe Biden has such a long record of public life, public service, and throughout the from generation to generation, from decade to decade, things have changed. So he is trying to, I guess, get right with the moment, and it's happening in a variety of different ways. And it will probably continue to happen if he jumps in, as we still expect him to do, at the end of April. But look, I think it is something of an apology to our guests, but it's also just explaining. But I think you can also add Elizabeth Warren onto that list, as she has apologized, explained other things that she has talked about her past as well, her Native American heritage. So I think that it is a long list here. I think the question is, the Democrats that I am talking to about this aren't necessarily divided, I don't believe, as much on generational lines as they are ideological lines. Are they looking for someone who can defeat the president, or are they looking for someone who lines up directly with these progressive ideas and views? So I think that is much more what is happening inside the Democratic Party for the Democrats I speak to, as opposed to automatically assuming that older voters are aligned with Joe Biden and younger voters are not. I think it's much deeper than that.
Yeah, and what does this conversation, how does this play out throughout the primary, I think will be interesting, and in a shrewd political way. How do the other candidates use or not use this when they're standing on a debate stage? Perhaps. We will see. Jeff, thank you so much. Jess, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, guys. Coming up for us, chilling new details about a college student who thought she was getting in